Welcome to Game. Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of T-Series.
That's right, GTeaLive is back. This is our 8th episode,
It is not.
of T-Series.
I believe it's our 9th episode if Chris is able to count almost to the number of fingers that he has on his hands.
Really, Chris?
It is 9.
Oh my goodness.
Wow. Our little baby's all grown up, Steph.
Right? Our podcast is now in 4th grade.
What used to be just a twinkle in each of our eyes has now grown into a fully fledged elementary school
What used to
child.
be just us complaining that we didn't really have a good place on regular GTeaLive episodes to talk about stuff that was going on the platform and deeper issues that involve maybe not playing video games over top of. And now, look at us here doing those things and talking about those things.
Sitting on that couch talking about those things. Wow.
And here we are talking about those things again today. I'm excited. We have more to talk about.
You know, it is interesting, Steph. Your statement there about like look at where we are now and like we were complaining about this thing and then it came to fruition.
Yeah.
It's true. It reminds me of the idiom or whatever? I guess it's not really an idiom. The old advice that people give, which is like if you want to be an author, you write a book. Like,
God helps those who help themselves. That sort of thing.
yeah, I guess that applies too.
It's all one and the same kind of like go out there and get it, tiger.
Or in the immortal words of Larry the Cable Guy, get her done.
Get her done.
Get her done.
If you want something done, you have to do it yourself. That kind of thing.
No, but it's true, right? Like it's pretty intimidating a lot of times to look at an aspirational goal, like I want to be an author or I
Yeah.
want to be an actor or whatever, and be like, I don't know how to do that thing. But sometimes it's just about like sitting down and just doing the base activity.
The people who make those things happen are the people who are like, I'm just going to do this and I'll figure it out along the way. It's actually really true. And I mean, online video in and of itself is a testament to that mentality of, hey, I don't know what I'm doing. I've never done this before because no one's ever done this before, but I'm going to figure it out. And if I want to do something differently than the way other people have done it before, it's no more wrong or right than other people have been doing because there are kind of no rules or no standards in some cases.
Welcome to digital video where there are no standards.
No standards.
No, but it's true, right? Like everyone's just figuring it out as they go along. Look at YouTube, for instance. Not even the YouTubers who are doing stuff and just figuring it out as they go along, but YouTube themselves. They're like, we don't know how to deal with issue X, Y, and Z. We're just
gonna figure it out.
let's tweak the algorithm a little bit and figure it out, or let's put in some filters and maybe demonetize a bunch of people, but we'll figure it out at some point down the line.
I sense Matthew may be segueing to our first story of the day here, but before he does, maybe we should tell people how they can engage with today's stream.
How can they engage with today's stream, Stephanie?
I'm so glad you asked. There are 2 ways to do it. One is on Twitter using hashtag GTLive. We will be pulling up the twits today. And
use your imaginations. Imagine a board.
Imagine a board that someone has lovingly drawn a picture on to represent something symbolic of today's episode in loving, handcrafted artistic style, right, Chris?
It has historically not been featured on the T-Series show.
That's true.
But does that mean that it shouldn't exist?
In our hearts.
It can exist in your hearts.
Yeah, let's keep it existing in our hearts. Otherwise, we're just wasting time on it. Imagine, if you will, a square board where there's like some sort of chalk marker on it. I don't even know what these pens are. It's chalk markers.
It's erasable chalk marker. They're great, by the way. If you're ever interested in like a new medium of artistry, the erasable chalk marker, highly recommend.
See, I don't know. I would challenge that a little bit here because on one hand, I hate chalkboards in general. Like chalkboards are literally the worst. Holding chalk, the scrape of chalk on chalkboards, terrible. But also this chalkboard, I love this little board that we have, but it is a bit weird to me that why wouldn't you just use a dry erase board, which is easier and more plentiful? Like having to find these specific chalk related markers for this very specific board that we have seems like our motto in life, like making things slightly harder than they need to be.
That's probably true.
And then just pressing onward with it.
For the record, though, I think I bought that board because I liked it. And I was like, oh, we need black in the background.
I'm just saying, it's a good board. But
Wait, no. Hold on. Since you opened this box,
Oh,
I will close it very quickly after I open
we've
it. Just
opened
to say
this Pandora.
I wanted to get a white board for the background, but you were like, no, we need the feeling that you're in a classroom. We need to have a chalkboard-like item in the background of GTeaLive. And I was like, okay, I will find a compromise here because you also didn't like chalkboards. And so I went out and found the black board, and I was like, but you don't have to write on it with chalk. You can just write on it with markers.
I don't believe this alternate history you're spinning here, Stephanie. I don't think this ever happened.
We'll have to debate it out off I guess behind the scenes because we have to get into the first story, but my side of it is definitely right.
Picks or it didn't happen, Stephanie. So hashtag GTLive. Imagine, if you will, a chalkboard with the letters hashtag and GTLive on it.
Also engage with the chat. You know how to do it. It is down there. Or just discuss on your own after the episode is over. That's also cool too.
Just discuss.
In any case, let's go ahead and continue your wonderful transition to our first story today.
That wonderful transition is completely derailed because we also have to talk about what you're drinking, Steph.
That's true.
What's in your teacup today?
I'm going all in on the organic chamomile today. I'm continuing in my decaffeinated theme. I'm trying to detox from all the caffeine in my life, and so I'm going with a nice non-stimulating cup of tea, other than that tea is lovely in general. And you?
I'm trying to retox with all of the caffeine in my life with Diet Unbranded Soda X.
Oh.
Carbonated.
Oh, I just see you decided to switch it up today. Wow.
Yeah.
Exciting. Exciting.
Variety is the spice of life, Stephanie. Sometimes change is good.
So as we were talking about when we open things up, on YouTube, there's a lot of figuring stuff out to do. YouTube themselves are often in the position of being like, hey, we screwed something up. Now we have to fix it. Oh, wait, we fixed it too much. We overcorrected in the other direction. Now we have to fix it again. And they kind of go around and around in these circles. And one of the reasons why that happens to YouTube a lot is because they are trying to make everybody happy all over the world, all at the same time. And as anyone who makes anything for the internet knows, making everybody happy at the same time is just about completely impossible.
Literally impossible. So in an effort to continue making people happy on the platform, we go to story number 1 today, which is YouTube's CEO, Susan Wojcicki, is starting to have tea sessions. Tea sessions. Man, who's done that before? Starting to have tea sessions around the internet, around YouTube, with people like Shane Dawson and James Charles to discuss creator concerns. After tweeting about the veracity of the YouTube trending tab, Wojcicki agreed to a tea session with Shane. This meeting happened last week, but Shane isn't the only one who's getting sit-downs. James Charles also was granted a one-on-one chat. Charles has tweeted frequently about his frustrations with YouTube and their manual review process and strict copyright infringement systems.
So I love how I love how it's like, okay, we're gonna pick 2 creators who have a huge audience and also complain a lot online. No offense, James or Shane, and we're gonna go see them.
Right, like, I mean, hey, on one hand, it's like that's some pretty nice white glove service. Like, hey, YouTube cares about you as the creator. It's so much so that we're sending our CEO to talk to you.
To your house.
But on the other hand, I don't know. I feel like, again, this...
So I guess this is the headline.
That
are we
is the
talking
headline.
about our feelings about this? What do you want to analyze here? Because I think there are a lot of angles you could come at this from.
Well, the first thing I think that's worth calling out here is the fact that it's still premature, right? These videos, or kind of what has come out of these videos, is yet to be seen, right? Like, I don't know if there's a plan to release any information about what was discussed during these as part of like a video series. Or
I would imagine that if they can turn them into content, right, it would make a lot of sense to do that, because I think a lot of people would be interested in what that conversation was about and really like how real Susan was able to get, right?
Well, and it's also one of those things too where I get YouTube's position on this, where it's, hey, we want to talk to big creators who have big audiences who can, you know, people who are basically going to take our message and amplify it outwards, right? Like, we can sit down with a small creator and talk about their concerns. The problem is we're talking to a small creator, that small creator might not be able to let a lot of other small creators or a lot of other users of this platform get the information that we're looking to do, right? So
Right.
if the CEO of the company has taken their time out of their day to have these meetings, you want it to be as impactful as possible. Let's talk to two really big people online right now. So I
That makes
get
a ton
that.
of sense. And honestly, based on who is really having just an incredible impact on the platform right now, I think she picked two of the best people to have those conversations with. There are like maybe like arguably no two creators who are bigger on the platform right now than those two. Even though they don't have the highest subscriber numbers on the platform, they're extremely influential and across a lot of topics and categories, right? Shane is more general interest, and while James, represents more of just the beauty community, he also represents like a YouTuber lifestyle. He knows a lot of YouTubers. We've talked in the past about how early on he had a bit of a reputation for like collaboration ladder climbing, of like just doing advantageous collaborations to get bigger and bigger. But because of that, he has a huge network, not only of YouTubers, but then also a massive audience.
Yeah, sure. That being said, though, I don't know. I see these headlines and I don't know. I worry a little bit, as you always do, but like, I worry a little bit just because big creators a lot of times lose touch with a lot of small creator problems in a lot of cases, and it's hard to give voice to a lot of small creator problems unless you're actively talking to them. And I don't know. Again, I don't know what Shane's doing on a day-to-day basis. I assume I know what James Charles is doing on a day-to-day basis, and I don't think a lot of them are sourcing a lot of information from smaller creators out there. I would hope if you're given this sort of opportunity that you would, really do due diligence, do your research, and make sure that you're serving not just as a voice of your experiences on your channel, but also what you see as wider issues across the platform.
I would have actually really liked to, that's the one thing I was going to say, is that I would have really liked to have seen either of them make some sort of, public public request, being like, hey, are you a creator? What are the things you're most frustrated with? And then try and boil some of that sentiment up, because obviously being one creator and having one channel, which both of those people are one creator and they only have one channel, they only see the issues that are right in front of them, right? And that's going to be a small subset of the issues that everyone on the platform is having, right? And they may be big issues, like the copyright systems issues are big issues. That affects a ton of people. But from working with a lot of creators on the consulting side and businesses, companies, lots of people, no one is like really immune from this. People are very short-sighted because they only really care about their own content. And that's normal, right? Like we care about our own content too. But also we've known some really huge creators on the platform, and I mean the biggest, who still basically function off of superstition on YouTube. They don't function off of what the data tells them, or what people are evidence around them.
They still don't know
they
the
function off of
basics.
superstition, and they're like, well, this has always worked for me, so I'm gonna keep doing it this way. Otherwise, and I'm gonna like rub my lucky rabbit's foot twice, spin around 3 times, and then hit publish, and my video is gonna be amazing. It's like their superstitions like at that level. They're crazy.
There are a lot of really strange superstitions when you talk to some of these channels.
Yeah, and so it's a little bit concerning when you're talking to two people who only have one channel each, and are they really paying attention to what's on the platform, or are they paying attention to like how are they functioning? We don't really know.
And also, I think it's another thing to be saying to two channels on the platform who are tremendously successful. And I think that's the other thing too. Yeah. Like, it's easy to look at YouTube with rose-colored glasses when you're doing really well on the platform. Like, wow, everything's great here. Look at how awesome it is. And look at how much success I'm able to have. And like, that's the other thing too, is when you partner with people who are having a really positive experience with the platform, like inevitably the kind of approach that you're having with that person, the conversation you're going to have is going to be skewed to some extent.
But so they are in some degree, but Shane's been on the platform for over a decade.
Sure.
And he's gone through ups and downs. He's gone through like a lot of phases with his channel.
He's gone through ups and slightly less ups.
I
This is a
know.
guy who, okay, like, we're spilling tea here. Like, oh, poor me, Shane Dawson. Shane, you're great. But quite honestly, like, when your channel has gotten 100 million views a month for, like, the 10 years that you've been, like, if you look at his analytics, like, off of, like, some of the publicly facing, like, socialblade.com and stuff like that, I've never actually seen his analytics, but I've seen, you know, the publicly facing stats
stuff.
on those sorts of sites, which do keep track of
He's
this stuff.
been very rich for a very long time.
He's gotten
and
100 million views a month
and
for
he
a very long time.
He does talk about how he's like, oh, I'm a Walmart guy and all this stuff all the time, but he has not been a Walmart guy for like a decade. The house, and we live in Southern California, we live in the LA area, and this is not like, I think that if you make money, you should go after it, buy whatever your heart tells you because you earned it, you deserve it. I am all about that.
Or invest it responsibly.
Toward your retirement like some other people do. Anyway, so but
treat it with respect. Invest in your future security. But don't go buy a Lambo.
But if you don't want to do that, that's also your choice because you made that money and you should never be
100%.
ashamed of how you want to use it. That being said, like, he's like, and I know that Shane has made a really big deal about his dream house and stuff, and I think that is wonderful. But the idea that he's a down to earth kind of guy where he lives in like a gated castle in Calabasas. This is not like a normal person's
Oh, I guess he does
lifestyle.
now. I was gonna say used to, but no, he just moved. Moved out of his $2 million house or whatever.
So,
but no,
I mean, it's one of those things where I do wonder about the perspective because I think there are a lot of smaller creators. There's a massive like smaller creator or like middle class of YouTube creators that I don't think get a lot of representation because they're not small enough to be considered small creators, but they're not big enough to catch the attention of YouTube. And I think a lot of them are the ones who are like, I use my YouTube money to pay my rent every month. And if it doesn't come through, I can't make my rent. And it's like, I am just trying to get by. I'm not buying mega mansions in Calabasas. I'm not buying Lambos. I'm
working on
trying to make my rent work, and demonetization is a problem, and this and this and this. And those problems, like those are the creators who slip through the cracks.
You're not working on your own specialty makeup palette with your friend who's also like a 10 millionaire.
Hey, if you are, good on you.
It's awesome.
If you are, that's awesome.
But I do think that it's one of those interesting things, right? So like when we consult other channels, when we work with other channels, even with this Defy situation, right, which has been kind of this thing that just lingers around in the background. We actually just had a meeting right before, like that's part of the reason why we're late actually, was we were in a meeting talking about how we want to proceed forward with Defy, trying to like represent this, collective group of creators who are trying to get their money back. And as a part of that, right, we're working alongside mega creators, some of which who are bigger than us and are owed more money than us by Defy. And then there are other people who, like I said in that original video, were just working on getting their monthly rent check, and they're like, hey, I was owed this, and now I lost that monthly rent check from my YouTube earnings that Defy took.
Yeah.
And when you're like, the needs of those people are just very different in a lot of cases. And the way that they're approaching the platform, the way they run their channels, the way their lives look, just fundamentally different. And I think, with these sit-down talks, it's YouTube trying to meet the creators who are on the grassroots, the ground floor. They're not the ground floor. They're not, and that's fine, and that's not
in a lot of ways. Neither are we.
No,
so we are
not.
Also not saying that like, hey, Susan should have talked to us. That's not what it's about at all.
We've been sipping tea on this couch for 9 weeks,
I mean,
Stephanie.
you could, Susan. But
no, and the last thing I will say about this is I think back to, a couple months ago, 6-7 months ago, a year ago, I don't know. Time is a blur to me at this point because I'm a father now. But it's one of those things where I think back to Casey Neistat's tell-all sit-down interview with
Robert Kinsel?
With Robert Kinsel, other YouTube head honcho, big guy. Nothing was said.
Okay, but like in Casey's defense, we've also had many conversations at this point with Robert Kinsel, and the guy's hard to read. I'm just saying.
Whoa. Spilling the tea.
No, he's a businessman. He's very serious. He takes his job very seriously. I think he cares about his work like a ton, but he is hard to read. Like he doesn't betray a lot of emotion here. So in Casey's defense, Robert is not an easy guy to get the juicy gossip out.
No, but I mean, I've been to enough of these YouTube events. I've seen enough of these sorts of YouTube conversations happen, and you know, you always gotta pre-submit the questions. You're not gonna be You're not gonna be suddenly doing like a gotcha moment about like, well, what about this? And then they're like, oh no, you've ruined me, and I'm gonna slip up and expose.
That's what I was going to say. That was the last thing that I was going to end on, is that we've also had a number of conversations with Susan at this point as well. We've had one very brief, but we had one like more lengthy lunch with her, which was the only time that we've talked to her really without her being like scripted and knowing what she was going to say ahead of time, because there was one event like 3 years ago where a bunch of creators were in the room with Susan and we were there. A bunch of creators were in the room with Susan, and they actually did start asking her questions off the cuff, and some of them were pretty heated, and it was not a good situation for her. And so ever since then, we've always seen her in situations where people have sent her the questions ahead of time, which really means they've sent them to YouTube PR and YouTube legal teams, and they've been pre-screened. And what Susan has to say has been pre-scripted. And that's not just Susan. That's like all of the YouTube execs, so that they know what they're allowed to say and what they're not allowed to say. So I'm a bit skeptical that whatever videos or like whatever conversations are going on behind, like even at creators' houses and stuff, that they're not scripted. I'm just saying.
Oh no, everything's scripted, and like, what do you really learn out of those? You learn like YouTube's party line, and that's fine. I guess. I don't know. It's not particularly interesting, and is it truthful? They're doing their best, right? Like that. Here's whenever these videos come out on James Charles or Shane Dawson's channel, they're doing their best. They're working hard to balance the needs of all creators and businesses on the platform. Like, there it is. That's what we will learn from this. Like, it's not a perfect system, but it's a system that's learning and growing and always improving for all the users across all the countries where YouTube is used. Like there you go. Hire me, YouTube.
Right.
There it is. Like, I mean, that's the part. Like, that's all.
I
don't even need a PR team to screen that. Like, I know that if you boil down what gets said, that's what it's going to be.
In Susan's defense as well, and in the defense of a lot of the YouTube execs who sometimes come off, because I am seeing comments that say like, oh, she's a shill, I don't trust her, all this stuff. Susan, I am just shocked that people that Susan, Robert, a few other people who we know who are like high up at YouTube, it is like a miracle that they don't up and decide like, I'm quitting my job, this is over, you are so not worth it, because it is. I think there's a quote from her even where she's like, this is pretty thankless. Everyone hates you all the time. Someone is angry every single day. She's like, I recognize that this is important work because this shapes literally the future of the internet, but it has got to be, on some days, that it must just be the most miserable job in the world to be Susan. So I also like respect for the woman to like stick it out in that position. I actually have like a lot of respect for that.
Yeah, it's hard and thankless, and it's also one of those things too that like in a lot of like public situations, and especially when you're doing like these big presentations and stuff, like she's in casual conversation, she's very nice.
Yeah.
On stage, sometimes she reads as a bit stiff. She's gotten better in the 3-4 years that I've been kind of like, when I suddenly started to pay attention to this space and start to become aware of who these people are, who's running the platform, and starting to get to meet them. Like, I can tell you from firsthand experience, from like the first time that I saw her talk to now, she's improved tremendously. But just giving presentations is not her strongest suit. Like like Stephanie said, we were at a meal with her where we got to talk. Last October, where we got to talk very, very briefly. There was a lot of other people in the room, but we were talking about Article 13 stuff, and like it was a really nice conversation. It was like very believable. She was very like legitimately like expressing her concerns about stuff. Like it was a very honest talk, and it felt very authentic, like in a way that a lot of times when she's on camera or on stage it doesn't read, because one, everything she says has to pass through so many different corporate filters, and then two, just some people aren't comfortable in front of a camera, and I get that. Like some people aren't comfortable talking off the cuff like we are, you know. And even then, sometimes we're not
Speak for
comfortable
yourself.
talking on, right? Sometimes we're not comfortable on the couch either. But you got to do what you got to do,
Yeah.
right? So anyway, that's a lot of time, a lot of
Okay.
talk about those. We'll see what kind of comes of it. I do like that YouTube is very actively trying to become more like the one thing that I think this just speaks well on is them hearing the concerns of everyone being like, YouTube, you're too closed off. You don't communicate your problems and your successes well enough.
Yeah.
Start opening up the doors to just get a peek inside, or like at least have someone to talk to. And I like that.
Yeah.
I like them using the language of the platform to start sharing knowledge about the platform. I think that is smart of them. I think that's good. Do I think that they're going to knock it out of the ballpark all the time? No. I think that it's going to be a learning process for them, but I think they're getting better about that.
Yeah.
There's still a lot of issues, but they're getting better about that, at least. Speaking of platforms, and different platforms and platforms getting better or worse,
Oh my gosh, are we going to talk about Vine too?
we are going to talk about Vine too.
Yeah.
So this is our top story of the day. Top story of the day, you can tell because it's in the thumbnail and the title of the video. So basically, Vine 2 is starting to hit the news at this point, right? So it's not actually called Vine 2. It's called,
it's called
Byte.
Byte, right?
Byte, not Bite. It's Byte, like a gigabyte.
Yes.
It's starting to hit headlines, right? So Byte is in beta right now.
It's
but
the beta Byte.
But according to the news summary, right, it generally looks like the original Vine. Since Twitter owns Vine, so right, here's an example of what Byte looks like. Looks very Vine-like, not, shattering any new. Whoa, this is the most innovative video
Amazing.
platform ever.
Do
No.
we know how long the videos are going to be on Byte?
So real quick, since Twitter owns Vine, so
Yes.
you might be asking, like, why isn't it called Vine 2? Why isn't Bendy and the Ink Machine 2 called Bendy and the Ink Machine 2? Because you got to come up with new names, guys. It's Bendy and the Dark Revival. No,
A marketing team got paid like millions to come up with Byte, okay?
it's actually probably true.
Yes.
Knowing how these businesses
They
operate,
needed that paycheck.
some like consultancy out there somewhere is like, oh, we pressure tested this with the kids and they really like Byte, even though bytes and bits or something that like reminds me of like computers in the 90s.
Right.
Anyway, since Twitter owns Vine, so Twitter bought out Vine, right? And then Twitter owned Vine,
And then Vine
didn't know what to do with it. And Twitter basically screwed over Vine in a lot of ways. So since Twitter owns Vine, the new app can't actually be called Vine 2, which is why one of the creators of Vine and now the creator of Byte is now having to change the name. The question, teasing Byte on Twitter recently, Hoffman, the creator of this thing, tweeted, "The Byte beta we've been running with friends and family feels exactly like the Vine friends and family beta, down to the weird but appealing randomness of the videos. That'll change as we expand, but it's a pretty good sign." So that's the long and short of it. Here's my question of the day, and this is why I really wanted to cover this one, right? So it's still early days. It's in beta. We'll see what it looks like when the whole thing comes out. Does it matter? Do we care? Should we care? In this day and age of every video platform having every length and width of video, every orientation of horizontal and vertical and stories and live and short form and long form, do we need Vine again? Do we need Vine 2? Has TikTok taken over the position of Vine at this point? Is TikTok Vine 2? Like, to me, when I think about platforms, I think TikTok is the most close successor to what Vine was, right? Short form comedic videos that, can be short, can be a little bit longer, but like tend to be more comedic sketches, very rudimentary, but down to the point and funny.
Well, even that description of the down to the weird but appealing randomness of the videos. I mean, that is TikTok. The weird, randomly appearing videos, like the surfacing algorithms in TikTok lead you through a seemingly random assortment of like content pieces. You can search and you can't like just like you could with Vine, but if you leave it to curate your experience, you're going to be led down some like weirdo rabbit holes, and that's fine because that's kind of the point of the platform. You ask some existential questions about when you're like, does it matter? You're like, I'm just an old jaded content
I'm not
creator.
old and jaded.
I want another platform.
I'm not old and jaded. I'm
No,
just
I know.
curious. Like, does it matter?
To me, it doesn't matter. But at this point, see, here's the other thing, though. I don't think it matters to us. I think there's a subset of people for whom it will matter. So this brings up this like really interesting phenomena that happens every time a new platform launches, right? Which is that people, if there's like a shred of evidence or like a spark of hope that this is going to be a platform that takes off, there are always going to be that subset of people who want to be there first, to be the first stars on that platform. You saw it happen with Snapchat. You saw it happen like with like a few other places too.
Be there first and make Fortnite related content for it.
Exactly.
Because Lord knows
There's not
every
enough.
platform needs Fortnite related
You
content.
can never have enough Fortnite, Matthew.
It's true.
So that's the thing, right? Is there's going to be a subset of people who are like, I want to become the first Byte stars. And there were people like this on Musical.ly, and some of them who had that like first mover advantage on Musical.ly tipped over to YouTube and became like huge YouTube sensations, like baby what's her face?
Ariel.
Baby Ariel.
Baby Shark. Do
Same difference.
Baby Shark do. Baby Shark do. Baby Shark. I mean, Baby Shark also very popular on Musical.ly and now TikTok. So let's be honest here.
Arguably,
Maybe even
like,
bigger than Baby Ariel.
honestly.
No offense to Baby Ariel.
No offense.
Maybe a little bit.
But like definitely after you saw, I mean, that those first big Vine stars were huge. I mean, Liza Koshy, Vine star, Lily Pons, Vine star, like a lot of those, Jake and Logan, Vine stars, like those. So people see new platforms as an opportunity to become one of those people, because if you're the first to make it big on one of those platforms, then you can move like some massive new audience over to YouTube and take off like a rocket, right?
Onto a platform where you can actually monetize your videos.
I mean, that's why everyone went to YouTube. It's like,
That
I
is the
can't
thing,
make money
right?
on Vine. I can't make money on Instagram. I can't make money. Like, where are you going to go? Oh, YouTube. Duh.
Yeah, so because here's my thing. Because
Do I care? No.
Because I don't disagree with you. I mean, anytime, and what Stephanie says is 100% true. We know this with a lot of YouTube creators too, right? Where as soon as a new platform opens up, they're all in. You know, I can think of 5 people that went all in on Musical.ly and on Twitter video when those...
People are also pointing out Thomas Sanders.
Yeah, Thomas Sanders, right. No,
Absolutely,
Thomas Sanders is a great
absolutely.
example. Like, that's actually the one I was thinking of.
Yep.
But, like, all these guys who go all in, like, it doesn't matter if it makes sense for them or not in their mind. They're like, I'm going to get the most hearts on Periscope. Periscope was one that I know a lot of people,
That's
when it first
right.
launched, that people were like,
Matthew
I'm all in on
Santoro was all in on Periscope.
You can talk about that. I was not going to name names, but Matthew Santoro
No,
was all
I'm
about
just saying it doesn't mean that you're bad or that you aren't like, you're trying to be forward thinking, right? Like I said, Liza Koshy, David Dobrik, like Thomas Sanders, all of these incredibly well-known people started out by being like, I'm going to try this new platform and I'm going to experiment with it, and I'm going to be one of the people who sets the rules on how content is made on these platforms.
Sure.
Matthew Santoro was one of the people who wanted to do that with Periscope, and it
did a
seemed
lot of
like a
good
good
stuff on
idea.
Periscope.
Right, exactly. So it's not like if that platform fails or goes under, it's not that person's fault. It has nothing to do with them. It's just like the strategy has to be like, oh, if there's a new platform, I'm going to get in on it and try it. It just ends up being a lot of work, right?
Yeah.
To try all those new platforms.
Well, and I think that's the thing here, right? Is I don't think this is gonna work. That's me calling my shot. This is me, the great Bambino, pointing out to the outfield and being like, I'm calling my shot.
Actually, you're not pointing to the outfield. You'd be pointing to like the foul line in this case.
This is gonna miss. I'm gonna strike out, great Bambino.
How do you like that sports analogy? I got that one. Yeah.
You did. It was great. No, but honestly, here's the thing. If it was allowed to be branded Vine 2, if they were actually allowed to come out with literally Vine 2 and call it Vine 2, I think it would have a chance at success because I think Vine has a very strong love from a lot of people. I think it has a lot of loyalty from a lot of people. I think it's one of those things that, like, people were really sad and devastated to see it go. And so even though TikTok basically fills largely the same function, in my mind at least, and you know, all the TikTok or all the Vine stars have moved on to YouTube and all these other platforms, whatever, I think you would still have people who are like, yes, I loved Vine, I'm back onto Vine too, I'm so excited about this. The fact that it's called Byte, and the fact that it has to legally be called Byte, well, or whatever other name they came up with, but not Vine, I think that is ultimately going to mean that it won't succeed, because people who aren't aware of that whole story and aren't aware of, like, who owns what and why legally it has to be X, Y, Z. It's a new thing. It's just another new thing, like a Periscope, like a TikTok. Like, it's just another thing in this, like, miasma of platforms and social media that people are like, why do I care about this one when I got all these other ones?
It's also weird that the company that owns TikTok is a Chinese company called ByteDance. So
I
they
thought
are
that was
also
weird
Byte.
too. I also thought that was weird when I saw that they're naming it Byte. I'm like, oh
Right?
yeah, that's
TikTok
TikTok
also the company that owns
or
TikTok.
yeah, ByteDance.
ByteDance
Owns TikTok. Not the same. It's
Not
just
the same.
weird that they
yeah,
have,
just
like
a similar kind of
Byte
name.
is a common thing.
But I had to read this comment from GamerGirl1035 in the chat, who says his theories are wrong sometimes, so it could work.
It's true. No,
That your theory could be wrong. Your prediction theories rarely work out.
they
I have to say.
rarely work. Although, and to be honest, when people, because I was working as a YouTube analyst for a while, and someone came up to me early on and was like, hey, here's this platform with 6-second videos called Vine. And I'm like, that's stupid. I'm like, 6 seconds is too short to do anything interesting with. That was me. And I was wrong about that. Again, my prediction theories are totally wrong sometimes. I totally misjudged that one.
Yeah.
This guy in the very early days who worked alongside me at the MCN that I was working at the time, he's like, yeah, I heard about this cool thing called Vine. It's 6-second videos. And I'm like, okay, pass. And look, I was totally incorrect about that.
But then
that was early days.
Then there are all the other ones that were popping up right around that time, though, that did go bust. Like, wasn't there was also an 8-second video one.
Yeah, there was
Was it Octa something?
Right, it was Octave, I think, or something like.
Octave,
Yeah, there was
Octagram, whatever it was. It was about 8-second video.
There
I was
was.
like, that's gonna be the next thing. But of course it wasn't. So you have to pick your battles. I mean, you know,
at a certain
you're not always
point-
gonna be right.
Yeah, at a certain point, we have a lot of conversations with a lot of people who are starting stuff. We've had conversations with a lot of different live streaming platforms who are like, hey, we like what you do on GTeaLive. Bring it over to our live streaming platform that you've never heard of. And we're like, why? What do you do? What
Right.
makes you different? Like, what should we do? And they're like, it's live. And we're like, okay, and what? Like, what is the reason why? And so I remember
Why
actually.
would people go to YouTube, go away from YouTube where they're already watching stuff to some random platform?
Yeah, and it's funny that you bring that one up, Octave or whatever it was, because I remember having that conversation when they're like, it's short form video with a mobile focus. And I'm like, okay, what's your
it's
differentiator? No, and I'm like, what's your differentiator? And they're like, 8 seconds. And that was it. Like, that is how he pitched it to me. He was like, this is going to blow your mind. 2 extra seconds. Whoa! And suddenly the heavens opened up and content changed forever. Octave is no longer a thing.
Yeah.
No, but you also had the same thing with,
Septa shot, 7-second videos,
Oh,
says
that's it.
Vanetta Menendez.
Lucky numbers. Lucky 7.
Menezes.
You can call it Lucky 7, that platform.
Ooh, that'd be cool.
It's not 6. It's not 8.
It's 7.
7, guys. I wonder if that's how. It does make me wonder how Byte's going to differentiate itself to. Like, do you just go in and completely, like, ape the Vine thing? Or do you go in and say, like, 7 seconds, guys? That's how Byte works.
Yeah.
What was Vessel? Vessel was another one.
That was a YouTube competitor. That was like a different platform that was supposed to be VODs, like video on demand.
It was supposed to be premium
Oh, that's right. People
videos.
had to
That they're
pay for
differentiated.
it.
So this was another one where people approached us and they're like,
Yes.
we want you to preview your videos early over on our platform called Vessel.
A lot of people did.
A lot of people
actually,
did.
So if anyone remembers Miss Glamorazzi, Ingrid Nilsson, she was over there. I think Hannah Hart was over there too for a little while.
Tyler Oakley, I think, was. Good Mythical
Tyler was
Morning,
too.
or at least not Good Mythical Morning, but Rhett and Link, I think,
Yeah, they
were.
did some stuff over there.
Before it was Good Mythical Morning, I
And
believe.
YouTube got like
Epic
very
Mealtime.
concerned about people leaving to go. Oh yeah, Epic Mealtime. People got people at YouTube got very concerned about people going to Vessel. And so
It was
know,
made
it's
by
one
the
those things
creators of
where
Hulu, which, again,
get
you
it,
hear
like,
that and you're like, oh, wow.
it must be great.
They created Hulu. Hulu's a popular thing.
But it's also one of those things because like YouTube was very nervous. Like we had a lot of conversations with YouTube at that time where it's like, you're not going to Vessel, are you? Are you going to? You're not going to Vessel, are you? And that was back in like 2014, 2015.
Something like that.
So it was the kind of thing where even if you're a big platform, and you are like, this is your entire business is like being a popular platform. It's also, even for them, it's hard to predict what the next popular platform is going to be. You know what I mean? So. Yeah, you can't predict it. You just have to like decide like I'm gonna commit. I'm gonna be like a first mover on this platform.
So I'm the naysayer here, Steph. What say you? And what say you, chat? I'm hopping into the chat here to see this. What do you guys think? Like, do you want Vine 2? Are you using TikTok or have you moved on?
Okay,
Like, what is
so
it?
my take on this is actually that it will also not be successful in the long run. I think it may have like an initial pop, but I don't think it'll necessarily be successful in the long run. But here's why. So I do a lot of research with some of our consulting clients, like consulting partners, on different viewership, like how to talk to different audiences and stuff. And here's the thing. New platforms need younger video content creators. They need younger creators because those are the people who with like time, energy, who want to put in the work, who want to like bust the boundaries, create something new, right? But what a lot of people right now who are in high school and college, so like, you know, on the younger side, but still old enough to be making content, a lot of them don't want another social media platform to have to keep up with. People feel like overexposed. They feel like social media is like increasingly fake. I watched a bunch of videos over the past couple of days about people faking Instagram photos at Coachella, which is really interesting, which is like a whole other thing. We should talk about this. Gabby Hanna's video is pretty good on it. She faked being at Coachella, and then she was like, this is how I photoshopped myself into Coachella, and actually I stayed at home on my couch, suckers. So it was like a really interesting thing, but it goes to this idea that people feel like social media is fake. People feel like a lot of online platforms are fake, and they don't necessarily want, which is totally true.
All of
totally
this is
true.
not a lie.
But they don't want another place where they have to feel super exposed. They want places where they can feel like they can communicate with their friends, which is what everyone wants. Like you can communicate with the people you actually care about, not be super judged online by everyone else, and like follow the people who you want to follow, and then just like don't bother with the rest of it, and like try and stay out of some of like the crazy drama, right? So I mean that's why I don't think this new platform is going to work, because I don't think it offers what people really want right now.
Well,
there you go.
Good one. Anna Barin reminded me of what that 8-second platform was, which I'm impressed that you know this.
What was it?
Ocho.
Ocho.
It was called the Ocho.
Ocho.
The
oh
Ocho.
That's amazing. Good memory.
Man, I don't know how you know that. Like, were you Anna?
Did you work on Ocho? You can confess. It's okay.
Were you subscribed to the Ocho? I always made fun of it. Like, I remember this in conversations after we had those meetings where I made fun of it. It reminded me of like an ESPN. You know how ESPN has like ESPN 1, ESPN 2, ESPN like ESPN like classic.
Ocho.
I was gonna ESPN the Ocho. Like the 8th ESPN, like for all your table tennis. Actually, if it was like doing competitive table tennis, I would be
great.
I would be all in on that platform. Also, there it is. Mythical Beefster. Mythical Beefster should be hired by the creators of Byte / Vine 2, because Mythical Beefster wants it. Vine 2 should actually be called 9 for 9 seconds. It would be
Is
funny.
it 9 seconds?
No, but
Oh.
it's just like you have
thought you
Vine, and
Thought you
then
had the
have
insider track.
9, because it sounds like Vine, but it's 9 seconds. It would be very funny if Vine went from 6 seconds to 9 seconds.
That'd be great, actually.
I don't know. I think we need to revive the Ocho, guys. Let's be honest. Like, the Ocho, number 8.
The Ocho's the way to go, Cho.
Oh, yeah. Lime Green Techni actually calls it out. Wasn't that a joke in Dodgeball? I think it was the ESPN Ocho. Now that you think of it. That's so funny. I didn't even realize that. Maybe it was. The Ocho, where they were covering the Dodgeball. I think you were right. Now that you say that. But yeah, there was this platform that people were calling the Ocho.
Yeah.
8-second video, guys.
But yeah, so did you want to talk about like the fake Coachella stuff? Because it's really funny.
I was not aware of this, and it wasn't in any of the things that Chris had pulled up.
I
for
know.
us to
I'm
talk
sorry,
about.
but I was
Are you
looking at it
derailing this
yesterday.
GTeaLive right now?
I think it's worth asking, because I'm actually really curious to get your thoughts on it. I was going to force you to watch some of these videos tonight, just FYI. This is, I don't know if you realize this, but like our whole life is YouTube, and in our spare time we still watch YouTube. Oh my god.
You watch a good amount of YouTube.
But
you
we
got to know your platform.
But we try, and we try to watch a lot of stuff that's outside. Like we do gaming, we do film and TV, we have some other stuff coming up, but we try to watch a lot of things on the platform that have nothing to do with even the content we make. And one of the people I watch is Gabby Hanna, to keep up with her cleaning her air conditioning vents or something.
She cleaned her walls for the first time in 3 years.
I didn't watch that video. I imagine maybe it was satisfying, but it was like giving me allergies just to look at the thumbnail, and I didn't. But I did watch her video about
I thought her
faking
walls
going
looked
to
clean
Coachella.
to begin with, quite honest. Like in the thumbnail, she's like, I cleaned my walls. I was expecting there to be like a streak. Like if I were thumbnailing that, it's like you do the infomercial thing, right? Where you have like the clean streak and the dirty walls.
Ooh.
But it would just look like a white wall. I don't know.
It probably wasn't that bad. Anyway, so
I was also like, I cleaned my walls for the first time in 3 years, Gabby. Like 3 years. Do you clean your walls more frequently than 3 years?
How often should I be cleaning my walls?
How often, Chris? When was the last time you cleaned your walls?
I have never cleaned.
You have
my
never
walls.
cleaned your walls. You should be ashamed. Or make a YouTube video about it, because apparently it's some very exciting title that it's expected for people to click on.
Right.
Anyway, okay, take us through this stuff.
Okay.
So people are faking Coachella. So
Yes.
first off, don't
So-
really care about Coachella.
Well, so yeah, I mean, the preface to this is that neither of us are really huge fans of Coachella. If I think a lot of people go and they have a ton of fun. It's definitely not my scene as someone who just likes to treat their home like a cave and hide in it like a grizzly bear while eating potato chips.
I'd like to go once. Being in California, I think it's one of those things that like we should attend once just to experience. Apparently, at this point, we're too old to go.
I know people who are older than us who go, but and we look young enough to make it work. But that said, there's Coachella is just like is a scene, which I didn't really understand what that meant before moving to California or like living in LA. But it's basically a place where there's something that you're supposed to be doing at this event or at this place, but people really just go to be seen there, not to do the actual activity. So in name, Coachella is a music festival, but in actuality, it is an Instagram backdrop for a lot of people who go, especially big YouTubers. Like, you can see Jeffree Star and Lily Pons' entire Instagram was just all Coachella all the time. And most of James Charles' pants did not have buttocks on them.
Yeah, I was surprised that those didn't get flagged for demonetization off of his thumbnail. I've seen a lot of butt cheek in that thumbnail.
He and Susan are like this. Anyway,
Yeah, it's like, hey, Susan, is this thumbnail okay? Oh, yeah, I'm sure it's fine.
Anyway, we're not getting into that. So, but the whole point is that there were a number of people. This is not like a new thing.
Only 70% of your butt cheek is exposed. It's okay.
Gabby Hanna faked going to Coachella. Anastasia Kingsnorth also faked going to Coachella. There are guides online to how to fake going to Coachella. And there are basically like Gabby's video like basically just walks you through like how she went and got some outfits. She posed in front of an easily photoshoppable background, and then she had a friend who was really good at Photoshop.
That's called a green screen.
No, it wasn't a green screen.
Oh.
Fill in the background to make it look like she was in front of the Coachella stage. And it worked. She posted a whole bunch of looks from Coachella, and people responded just as if she was she was there. And her point was to draw out how fake social media is, how easy it is to fake a perfect lifestyle on social media, which it absolutely is. And a lot of people do it. And a lot of people like own up to the fact that their Instagram is not their real life. Like there are people, Tana is one of them, who talks a lot about how much she face tunes herself to filth and stuff like that, where her she's basically unrecognizable in some of her Instagram photos versus like her real life.
Can I just say I've never used Facetune. I've never explored Facetune.
We don't use Facetune. We don't alter
probably
we probably should.
Look,
as you can tell,
do you see my nose right now?
As you can tell on our Instagram, we don't use what we should be using.
I was out, look at those bags under those eyes. I was out in the sun all day yesterday at Six Flags. My nose
Knott's
is
Berry Farm. We were there.
Oh,
for
sorry,
the
Knott's
Boys
Berry Farm.
Berry
Yeah,
Festival.
yeah.
Thank
Sorry,
you
that's
very
why I
much.
misspoke.
Yeah.
I was there at Knott's Berry Farm. My nose is like a red beacon out to the ships at sea, guiding them amongst the rocks.
Jordan Robinson says that seems pretty excessive just to prove a point, to fake going to Instagram. She does go to some pretty extreme lengths, and it is it is a little bit mean to pull one over on your audience, but I like her messaging behind it, which was, and I know Gabby Hanna's a controversial figure and stuff, which is one of the reasons why we watch her, but I liked the idea behind it, which was that, hey, it was kind of like
everyone's controversial these days, Stephanie.
Yeah, but it was like you don't need to be going to Coachella to look cool on Instagram. What you see on Instagram, right? What you see on Instagram is fake. What you see on Instagram is fake. And instead of going to a place just to get the Instagram credit for it or get your Instagram photo, you could be spending time doing things that are worthwhile in your life. Like she spent time with friends. She went to the gym and worked out. She volunteered with a volunteer organization all on the same weekend that she said that she was spending at Coachella. And she also highlighted how much money Instagrammers spend on a weekend like Coachella, which includes, and this is not an exaggeration, thousands of dollars of hair extensions, makeup artists, publicists, wardrobe people. And we know from talking to wardrobe people, we've never actually hired a stylist, but we know just from talking to stylists that one single look where you don't even get to keep or own any of the clothes can be $2,000 or $3,000 easily. One outfit, one. So the idea of spending a whole weekend at Coachella or 2 weekends going through 6 outfits and 5 wigs and 6 different makeup looks is incredibly expensive, and that's not even the tickets to that's not even the event
we're
or the
hey,
hotel or anything.
For that $2,000, we're like, and you get to keep it, right? And they're like, no.
They're like, maybe. What? I don't really think so.
No, certainly not.
Yeah, we were trying to outfit Matthew for a red carpet event, and they were like, yeah, it'll be $2,500, on the low end if we're just borrowing the suit. And we're like, what?
Nope. Thanks, but no thanks. And click.
Yeah.
I'm gonna.
We didn't actually hang up on them. We were like, maybe for a bigger event, maybe this will be worthwhile, and we really appreciate all your help. You have to be really nice, and on the inside we were like,
She never talked to us again.
No, and she never talked to us again.
Not even
we were so
not even
polite.
Yeah, it was. We were really polite. Never nothing.
Apparently,
just
we were
silence.
We were no longer.
Apparently, we were
spending
supposed
enough
to.
For her.
Apparently, we were supposed to have known that was what it was going to cost going into it. Anyway, here's my confusion. Okay, and this is me showing off my just general unawareness of this sort of thing.
Yeah.
I try to stay aware of a lot of things. I'm aware of Coachella. I'm aware of what it is. The thing I don't get, who wants to do all this in the middle of a desert? You're going
part
out.
Of the charm.
Is it?
Well, okay. So here's the thing. It looks and feels. Chris, you may have a closer maybe people who go to Coachella more closely than we do.
You're in the middle of the sandy desert, and here you are getting dressed in your finery.
Yeah, but it's exclusive. You have to get.
Apparently not.
No. Think about it. If you have enough money to take the plane and then
or drive
and then the car and then do the hotel and then
also,
and then the concert itself, also, you have to get private transportation out there because they're Lyft doesn't even go out to the field where Coachella is. It's a massive ordeal to even get there. So it has an immediate air of exclusivity. And then because it's in the desert and you're you have all these beautiful desertscapes around you, it has this organic feel to it, even though it's all very plastic at this point.
Here's the thing.
So I get that.
I mean, first off, hotel rooms. I thought this was like Woodstock and people were like living in tents. They should be living in tents.
No,
Steph.
they're doing Airbnbs. It's
Terrible.
almost all Airbnbs and hotels.
Lame.
Because
Get good
where,
at desert concerts, guys.
How would you stay in a hotel when you have to wake up at like 6 a.m. so that your makeup artist can come in and do your makeup?
I would respect the commitment a lot more. That would be impressive at that point.
Maybe you bring your own generator.
That would be the point where I'm like, okay, that's impressive.
Anyway.
No. But the other thing,
Patrick Anderson is like, oh, that's Burning Man. You're thinking of Burning Man, where you go out into the desert and stay in tents. That's not this. That's not Coachella.
It's funny too, though, because I've always associated the two as like being basically equivalent. No, but the other thing that I was gonna say here is the fact that, like, okay, first off, we're getting all gussied up, but you're saying about how exclusive this whole thing is. It's a bunch of like young kids, is it? Like at the perspective.
I also don't think that's an accurate perception.
Is it not? Because Coachella, as I understand it, is always like, oh, we're like.
It's not a children's event.
Why is it all the young tubers doing it then?
Well, because
the youngstagrammers.
But they're
That's a terrible name. I need to come up with a better name.
I'm not sure they're as young as you think they are. Like, the age bracket for Coachella, the primary age bracket is 18 to 24, because you have to at least be old enough to be
24.
legal.
That's young.
And no, but a big part of Coachella is alcohol, and so to be getting alcohol, you have to be at least 21.
Sure. So still, like, that's pretty young, and so for young,
that's not that young, my friend.
Guess what? When you're 21, you can't be afforded. Like, I don't know. It to me, it's hard to like sell me on like, oh, this is an exclusive event with a huge proportion of like 18 to 21 year olds. I don't know, like, right?
But those are the people with a lot of expendable income who are buying the musicians' merch and stuff like that. Like,
expendable income.
Here's the thing: they're like, these are. It's not like. I'm sorry, it's a lot of like rich white kids who are at Coachella whose parents are paying for them, or they like just have some cash to burn.
Stephanie, they need to be seen.
You can go to Coachella and not do that and not participate in all of that kind of culture, but that is that scene that like Gabby Hanna and that others are referring to, and it leads to a whole separate subculture. Like the subculture around Coachella, I think, is actually much more interesting than Coachella itself, right? Coachella is a music festival. There have been lots of wonderful music festivals throughout history. The big deal about Coachella is that it's a scene. And so it leads to really it's like basically a 2-weekend over the top fashion show that manifests on Instagram. And then you get stuff like what James Charles and Tana released this morning, which was YouTubers doing reviews of people's Instagram wardrobes, of like Instagrammers' Instagram wardrobes at Coachella. And so there's an entire subculture that spawns underneath Coachella, which is why it's so big in the social media community, because it's all visual. It's all about FOMO, the fear of missing out if you're not there and you didn't get that Instagram photo. And that's what Gabby Hanna is speaking to, and others. There are like lots of other videos about this, when they're like, hey, you could be probably doing something better with your time, or something that's a bit more real with your time. And hey, it's also not that difficult to fake having an amazing time at events like this, when it's not actually an accurate reflection of a person's life.
It's topics like this that make me feel so tired, Stephanie.
Does it?
So tired about life. Let's talk about.
You don't want to go and take a bunch of really awesome Instagram photos right now?
Rarely do I want to take a bunch of awesome Instagram photos, as evidenced by the fact that I post like once a month. Like I like my shout outs to my Instagram guys, MattPatGT, MattPatGT. No, I like my Instagram account because you'll notice like this is a week where I'm trying to take it a little bit easier, and I'll post like 3 things that week, and then I'll nothing for another month because I'm like, I got other stuff to do. Like I don't know. If it wasn't part of our job and our life, I don't think I would use social media nearly as much as we do, just because. Like
you're out there living your life, man.
Yeah, I'm doing stuff. I don't necessarily need to, like, maybe I'd use Instagram as like a photo album or something like that. But even that, like, a lot of times I'll take a photo just so I have it to look back on, maybe. But more often than not, like, it just exists in kind of like the big photo reel, and you slide it away into the cloud or whatever, like you would do an old photo album back in the day, and that's it.
Well, how do you feel about real people, about people talking about or sort of exposing this idea of how fake platforms like Instagram are. Does that help? Does that help the problem, or do you think that just makes people better at faking their lives on Instagram?
Oh, I mean, it definitely makes them better at faking it, certainly. But I don't know. I think in this day and age, whether you're talking about fake news or fake Instagram or whatever, like literacy of online content or literacy of the media that you consume is so important to teach, right? I think it's easy for people to forget, even back in the TV news days, right? Like, here's the frame, but here's the actual story around the frame. Like, here's the frame that we're covering this news story in or whatever, but here's the stuff around it that is telling you the whole story or giving you a more accurate perception of what's really going on. It's what we talked about a couple weeks ago as it regards the Oscars, right? Where the Oscars take place in the middle of a mini mall. And that the big fancy parties with everyone in their gowns is taking place in like a back alley in kind of like a dirty part of town in a lot of cases. And, you know, they just set up a backdrop and they take the picture and it looks glamorous and beautiful. But like from me, who was literally observing that line happening across the street, because they set it up across from where I was working at the time. They're right behind a liquor store, and then like the fancy hotel was right next door, but like it's not a nice part of town or whatever. So like, to me, I think it's important I mean, that's why these channels exist, you know, is to help educate people about, hey, the story that you're being told might not be true, you know, there might be more to it or whatever. And so whether that's Instagram photos, whether that's, you know, YouTube videos, whatever, I'm totally on board with the idea of breaking down the techniques and tricks that people use to, you know, manipulate the information that's getting out to people, and give, you know, because you're right, a lot of people use social media and feel bad. Like, again, these studies have come out that say, like, hey,
social media is really bad for your health.
Yeah, social media makes people depressed. Social media makes people, you know, have a more negative rating towards their own personal life. And yeah, because you're competing against a perfect competitor that's edited out all the mistakes and all the errors. And so, of course, you're going to feel bad about your own existence because there's that sense of FOMO and there's, wow, I'm not as pretty as that person. But, you know, behind the scenes, it's face-tuned and green-screened and edited. And there were 100 pictures taken by a professional photographer who cost too much, you know, and they're wearing outfits that cost $2,000 that they don't even get to keep. Like, whatever. Like, I think that's the thing that's easy to forget when you're looking at that photo or that video. And so, great if we can start spreading the word, or if Gabby's spreading the word or whatever about the magic, the tricks that make that happen. Awesome, because hopefully then it breaks down a little bit of that negative feeling that social media engenders, and people can actually be, you know, a little bit happier in their day-to-day life, or recognize that what they have is also awesome, because a lot of times these people who are taking private jets or whatever, like, just there's something behind the scenes that it's making that happen.
There's always, everyone has their, like, there's that phrase, like, right, everyone has troubles, everyone has their fair share, right? You just don't see them on Instagram, like, or on social media in general.
So that was my rant.
That's that one.
Old man Matt Pat, middle-aged dad of YouTube here.
No, I don't think that's an old man mentality at all. In fact, I think more than anything, it's younger people who are coming up who are like, who grew up with social media and are like, you know what, I grew up like trying to compete in this social media world of like, everyone around me looks pretty, everyone around me looks amazing, through high school, through college, whatever, and
everyone around me is on the Ocho,
and it's all fake, and I'm tired of it. And I think actually that's a mentality that's more and more you see coming up through the ranks.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how things change and evolve with time. With time.
Do we have time for one more story?
Hey, Avengers Endgame is coming out.
We don't have tickets. And
Fortnite is doing a crossover with them starting on Thursday.
We don't have tickets.
I have nothing to say about that. I just think it's interesting. Who do you like? Last time Avengers had a big crossover with Fortnite, Thanos came in. The Infinity Gauntlet was cool. I'm kind of curious who's coming in this time. I don't know if it's Thanos again. They, as far as I know, it's been kind of tight-lipped about it, like what this crossover is actually going to entail. But I think it'll be fun.
Yeah, I think it'll be really cool. In other news,
makes you almost want to care about Fortnite.
oh,
Just
maybe.
joking. A lot of people already care about Fortnite.
Yeah, I think there
quite
are,
a bit.
I think there are a few people who are already on board the Fortnite bandwagon.
Right. It's funny. Like thinking about that crossover to me is like the two victors of the world just like rubbing it in everyone's face.
No, they're just like high-fiving.
Yeah,
They're like,
right?
yeah, we're
It's like,
great.
Yeah, everyone's coming to see our movie. Yeah, everyone's playing our game. Let's just hang out together and celebrate how awesome we mutually are and how successful we both are. Like, oh my gosh. I think that's funny because on one hand, it's like, Avengers is crossing over into Fortnite as if people who are playing Fortnite are going to suddenly be like, wait, what is this character? Thanos?
Thanos. It's Thanos.
Thanos. Who is this guy? What are these gemstones in his like? There's living under a rock, but then there's like you'd have to really be living under a rock to be playing Fortnite, but also not be aware of Infinity War.
Yeah.
And this is suddenly going to inspire me to watch the 21 movies and catch up with Infinity War so I can go see Endgame.
Speaking of,
Thanos?
The other two juggernauts who are doing a crossover this week are Infinity War for Endgame and Film Theory.
Are you shamelessly plugging?
I am shamelessly.
our video?
I'm really excited about this one. I think it'll be fun. We do have one other special little Film Theory coming up this week. Is it tomorrow or Thursday right now?
It's Thursday. Yeah, I know. It's It was a tight turnaround to do it. I know. The editing's taking longer than we expected.
But it's gonna be fun, and it'll still make it out before the movie comes out, which will be good. And so that's our little collab with Endgame, unofficial, not Spawn.
Totally.
They don't really want us to make this video. It's okay.
The video. Oh, we should title it that. The video Marvel didn't want us to make, even though they didn't know it
didn't
existed.
really care.
And we've
It's
never
fine.
talked to
I'm
them.
sure they would. It's free marketing for them, honestly.
The video Marvel doesn't care about. That's Film Theory in a nutshell. That's the summary there.
But it will be fun. So do watch that before you go see the movie.
One last fun little drop of tea as we kind of wrap things up here in our final couple minutes. I think this is just interesting, right? So I didn't know about this until Chris told me about it before the live stream.
No one is spoiling Endgame. No one has said anything about it.
Endgame.
No one's
I don't know
spoiling anything. How would we spoil? We don't know anything.
I've never seen it.
Yeah.
Seriously, I
And
wish I got
haven't
to
even
see it in an early
watched the
screening.
Yeah.
I didn't watch the spoiler.
Yeah, we
guys.
didn't pay attention.
okay.
Like, yeah, come on, it's all right.
We're spoiling Endgame in so much as we know how the Ant-Man Thanos battle turns out.
Ayo.
Just saying. No, so this is an interesting little story to end on, which I'd love to get Stephanie's opinion on. Apparently, there's a comedian who plays an accidental president on a Ukrainian TV show, a comedic Ukrainian TV show. He was just elected as the actual president of the Ukraine, apparently in a landslide. He won the Ukrainian presidency in a landslide. So you have a comedian playing an accidental president, suddenly elected the real president. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to politics in 2019.
This is the age we live in, friends.
I mean,
as Chris said before the stream started, life is what is it? The world is a TV show now.
Yeah.
That is it, pretty much in a nutshell.
Here's the thing. I don't know anything about this guy. I don't know anything about his policies.
Maybe he's great.
He might be awesome. It is weird though. It is a little bit concerning when you see that sort of stuff happen. Then again, it's been happening for a while. Like, I think it's easy to assume that this is like, wow, look at this scary recent trend where, these people who have no political background or no political affiliations or whatever are suddenly getting elected to like these super powerful offices. Ronald Reagan was an actor at one point. He was elected president.
People who appeared on TV instead of just being voices over the radio also had huge advantages when TV was just becoming a thing. You had I forget his name, but the YouTuber or online personality who was elected in Brazil.
Yeah, there was I think there was a couple Brazilian YouTubers who were elected.
It does seem to be like a weird trend lately, which is also it's weird. It's just unusual. Again, we don't know anything about it. We just thought it was a funny, interesting story.
Well, I don't think it's a weird trend. I totally get it, right? Like, here's the thing. I say us running for president. No, we are the devil that you know, right? Like, say what you will about Donald Trump or this Ukrainian TV show guy or Ronald Reagan or whoever across history, like they are Jesse Ventura, the wrestler, Arnold Schwarzenegger. These are guys who are elected to government offices who had a background in entertainment. And here's the thing, right? Because they're public figures, they're just more well known than your local politician.
Than someone who's trying to like bring up a grassroots effort and then play catch up.
Right.
This is why we were like, we speculate sometimes about who the first social media star like in government office will be, like in a big government office. Matthew thinks it's going to be Kim Kardashian.
100%. We're going to do a film theory about it on one of these days. But it's one of those things, right, where it's like, I know I don't know. But here's the thing. I know nothing about Jesse Ventura. I know he was a wrestler. I know Arnold Schwarzenegger was an action star who was a bodybuilder and stuff. I know Donald Trump was,
on The
Apprentice and like business, like he was successful in business, like, or at least that was the brand that he created. Even though I also knew that he went bankrupt in that business or one of his businesses, whatever. But it's one of those things that like, those people at least to some extent, whereas here's, a person running for Mayor X or Governor Y who you've never heard of unless you like actively follow local. Yeah,
they have an uphill battle next to a movie star,
right,
no matter who they are.
It's brand awareness,
yeah.
and also here's the other sad fact of the matter, or just kind of like here's the tea, right? Is if you are trained to be in front of a camera or be a performer, you're going to be better at speaking. You're going to be, a lot more comfortable, a lot more personable, a lot more eloquent. Yeah, you can have some great debaters rise through the ranks, but a lot of times the people who are coming from the media world they have a skill set that allows them to succeed better in today's day and age. And when the voters, in a lot of cases, are getting their information and getting their impressions about these candidates off of the screen that you're watching right now, or the internet that you're listening to right now, like someone who's articulate and comfortable in front of it is just going to be more trustworthy and it goes back to Susan. Wow, it all comes full circle. Wow, today this is great. Actually, I'm so happy we ended with this because it all comes full circle, which is why like people like Susan, who's a business person first, is not as comfortable on camera and so comes across as less trustworthy, right? Like because it's clear that she's reading off of the script, because it's clear that her stuff has come from PR people, it's harder to trust her. It's harder to like get the sense that, oh, I'm listening to someone who genuinely cares about this and not someone who's a shill,
Exactly.
Like,
I mean, you can't even tell the scripts that we're reading off of in front of us right now.
This would be a very elaborate
That would be
script.
unbelievable. It would also be a terrible script writer.
I think we've done a good job of talking about things, Stephanie.
But yeah, like so it's very different to be able to talk to someone in an unscripted way versus having to go through all of those filters. And yeah, I think you're absolutely right. It's whoever is known the best and in front of the camera. It's who's ever in front of your face.
Right. It's
we're
brand
humans.
awareness.
Yeah.
You know that person better than you know anyone else. The last thing I'll say too is, again, full circle, tying together all of the topics that we talked about, brought back Susan, also bringing back Gabby Hanna, right? Like Gabby Hanna said, a lot of that stuff's fake. A lot of the words that those people are saying, when they're actors or performers or whatever, are scripted. Those personalities are curated for a camera. And so that might be a lie. And so you think, and again, this goes back to what we were saying about media literacy and being able to like just watch stuff and understand, what's real and what isn't, and doing the research and being able to parse through, the lies and the edits that exist. It's one of those things that like, yeah, you think that person because you've watched them on TV or you've, watched their videos online or whatever, but in reality, they might be a completely different person. But you think and because the camera and what the edits say and this and that are kind of training you in that direction. So, am I surprised by this? No. I think it's something that you'll probably continue to see more of. You've started to see it happen more and more frequently in more places around the world. And unless there's a major pushback around this stuff, or if politicians just get more and more, I think that's what you're really going to see. Here's the great Bambino calling his shot again. Here's one of these other great prediction theories from Matthew. I think what you're going to see is politicians really starting to figure out, like, we need to be performers. We need to understand the camera, and we need to understand making a media moment, and we need to understand how to be articulate, emotional, passionate, and again, curated for the camera. It might not be true, but if I want to be a politician, what I really need to be is a performer.
Right.
There it is.
Oh, man.
Wow.
I think that was good to the last drop, that tea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My unbranded diet soda X was delicious.
And I think that's all we have for today.
It is.
But we will be back on Thursday.
We'll be back Thursday, ladies and gentlemen, for stuff that you originally came to this channel for, probably gaming.
Yeah. Hey,
Maybe
wouldn't that be fun?
Fortnite.
Nope.
Probably not.
No.
Who
But we'll be
knows?
back on Thursday.
Who knows?
And in the meantime, enjoy the rest of the middle of the week. We'll see you on the other side.
We'll see you on Thursday. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. And remember, that was just a cast. A podcast.
Cheers.
Cheers, my friends.